We had the shot of the statue outside of Mizzou Arena, Norm Stewart on his 89th birthday. Happy birthday to the Hall of Famer. Somebody get him a blanket out there. It's freezing, man.
A blanket, a turtleneck. I like your turtleneck tonight, partner.
Thank you very much. With the always sartorially refined Damian Fishback, Kevin Fitzgerald with you. Florida in those road blue uniforms. Missouri wearing the throwback bright yellow block and jerseys tonight. That's Tyree Samuel who gets Florida on the board to get this one started.
Yeah, the first Gator since Kerry Blackshear Jr. to post 3 straight double-doubles. Big, strong transfer from Seton Hall. Really like his game. Think he has a nice upside for the Florida Gators.
He's been one of the better post players in the league. You just saw Missouri starting 5. They got the 3 captains in that starting 5, Honor, East, and Carter. They have led the way for this 8-9 team that is trying to pick up its first conference win. Tamar Bates' triple from the corner rattled in and out. And this is how Todd Golden counters. This is his starting 5. Pullen and Clayton Damian, they average more than 30 points per game combined.
Yeah, I really like the backcourt for the Florida Gators. I like their entire team. You're talking about a team that almost knocked off Kentucky at home, which we just discussed. They've got size, they've got length, they've got quality depth as well.
Bates goes right into the 7-footer, and he picks up where he has left off the last few games. Bates has been on a rampage.
Yeah, that's the Indiana transfer. Helped the Hoosiers to 44 victories. He's a guy with experience and a lot of tenacity.
He's averaging 17 a game his last 7. After the miss, Mizzou cleans up and back the other way. Nick Honor for 3. That's down and out.
Those are the shots that have to go down for Missouri, especially from guys like Honor, East, and Bates.
Honor's coming off the 18-point game. Had been a bit quiet offensively a few games beforehand. Florida goes right back to Samuel, had it stripped away by Carter. Somehow recovers that behind his back, and Clayton sticks the 3.
Yeah, Clayton was playing with the house's money. Florida almost turned that over, something that Coach Todd Golden of Florida was concerned with. They've done a pretty good job early here in this game.
Noah Carter moving without the basketball. Nice cut. And Vanover, the 7'5" center, finds him in the lane.
Well, Connor Vanover is a skilled big. He doesn't give you a lot on the interior, but can knock down shots. He can finish at the rim, but plays with a high basketball IQ.
Micah Handlogton misfires from deep. And Missouri coming back the other way. They were right there, pound for pound, stride for stride with Alabama on Tuesday. However, the Tide pulled away in the late goings of that game, eventually won 93-75. East in the paint, draws the foul. And Sean East, the second, is heading to the free throw line for Missouri.
Coach Dennis Gates will be happy to see that. The Tigers are actually last of all Power 6 schools with the free throw differential of minus 4.65. And so he's made a conscious effort starting SEC play to really get his guys to attack the basket.
He has been very vocal about that. Would like his team to get to the free throw line more. They're very effective when they do get there, Damian. 76% as a team from the stripe.
Dennis Gates, what I call a Leonard Hamilton disciple, had so much success over at Florida State and then equally at Cleveland State, and got off to a fast start last year. How about finishing 4th in the SEC? I thought he should have been in the conversation for Coach of the Year for the SEC as well, and then gets his team to the NCAA tournament. They have things moving in the right direction, but struggling right now here in Como.
It was a 25-win season a year ago, winningest year in more than a decade. And you can see the record next to their name, looking for the first SEC win tonight. Zion pulling offline, and Will Richard regathers that one on the baseline. So the shooter doing some work on the glass. Richard from 15 feet misfires, and Jesus Carolero Martin pulls down his first rebound.
Missouri doing a solid job of just keeping the Gators in front of them, something that Coach Todd Golden said that they really wanted to do versus Missouri.
East on the baseline, gets into the paint, Got a couple of bigs right there to beat him. With 3 to shoot, this is Honor on the attack. And Honor draws the foul on the way in. So here is the aforementioned Todd Golden, second season now as the head coach at Florida, 38-year-old from Phoenix. He kept referencing that Georgia game. Yeah. Missouri opened up SEC play against Georgia. Like the way that Georgia had played them defensively.
Sure.
And wants to keep everybody in front of them.
Well, I'm a fan of Coach Todd Golden. He's a guy that looks young enough to play, and he has done a nice job, even though that record is not really indicative of the job he's done. He'll get him there.
So welcome to Columbia, Missouri. Tonight, Florida is in town inside Mizzou Arena, taking on the Tigers. Both these teams looking for a very important SEC victory tonight. Missouri looking for its first. Florida looking to lift itself up from the bottom of those standings as well. So a welcome and goodbye. We'll take a quick time out. Talk to you in a moment. Back in Mizzou Arena. Yeah, that is a major swing from one year to the next. They won 25 games a year ago and went to the NCAA tournament. 12-3 in games decided by single digits. This year, they played in fewer of those games. They're 3-5 in those closer, tighter ball games. And the recent one last week inside this building against South Carolina. Alex Condon is off the bench and into the game for Florida. He has been one of the more impressive rookies in the SEC this year.
Man, I love the freshman from Australia. I think he plays with grit. He's got really good footwork and skill set and mobility. I think he has a tremendous upside for the Florida Gators.
Bates in the paint, had it knocked free. It looks like Tamar Bates is headed back to the free throw line. And even despite some of those close games going the other way, Dennis Gates has been very vocal about this, that it's still a very spirited team. Practices, preparation, very competitive.
Sure.
This is a group that, taking the floor tonight, expects to get that first SEC ring.
Well, one thing that I like about what we've seen from the Missouri Tigers thus far is that they have attacked the basket aggressively. A lot of times when you're smaller, and you can look out there on the court and very easily see they're the much smaller team. Coach Young on their staff said at times we're bite-sized guys. That's why we struggle on the offensive and defensive glass. But that being said, tonight, what I'm seeing is more pressure being displayed to try to turn the Gators over.
Well, that's one of the trademarks of this team. They have a very high turnover rate, and they average about 8 or 9 steals per game. Certainly an area of focus if you're Florida tonight, withstanding some of the pressure. Riley Kugel had a couple of looks right at the rim, couldn't convert. But you just saw the impact of the Florida length there. Micah Hanlonton gets his team a new 20, and boy, Pullen just got that one away to Condon before he went or fell over the half-court line. Knocked out, stays here with 6 seconds to shoot.
This game is obvious, right? From the free throw line in, the advantage goes to Florida 100%. So for Missouri, they're going to try to really pressure the other 94 feet to make it difficult for Florida to get there.
Kugel in the corner, pressure, bounce pass, and it's knocked away. Anthony Robinson, the freshman, got a piece of it. Missouri in a hurry, and Aiden Shaw draws another foul. So Missouri living at the free throw line in these early minutes.
Give a lot of credit to Missouri. Anytime you catch the basketball in the corner, you have to be concerned because there's 2 extra defenders. And Riley Kugel caught that basketball right there in the corner where you have the sideline and the out-of-bounds underline that are really like 2 extra defenders, a very challenging place to throw the basketball out of.
So these are now the 5th and 6th free throws that Missouri has shot here in the early goings of this one. Aiden Shaw, the latest to head to the free throw line, the sophomore from Overland Park, Kansas. Not much of a high scorer this year, but it's been great on the defensive end. Leads his team in blocks. Comes up empty at the line this time.
Well, when I spoke with Coach Dennis Gates, he said, listen, we know we're going to get from Bates and from East and Nick Honor and even Noah Carter. He said that he thought Aiden Shaw was the guy to bring more to the table.
How about Sean East just took that one right away from Kugel. And so it's already a couple of Florida turnovers. Missouri in trouble. East has it now.
For Dennis Gates, you got to like the pace and the style of this game. They're more comfortable as Sean East knocks one down off of the window. Look at the pressure. We haven't seen that as much because of the injuries from the Missouri Tigers this season.
They're playing without 3 key rotation players. Zion pulling with the leaner that time. Still no Caleb Grill, Damian, for Missouri. This is his 9th game that he's missed. John Tange announced a couple days ago he's done for the season.
Yep.
Caleb Brown was lost just a couple games into the year. Carolero Martin, little trouble with that one. Nice touch by Florida, though, so it stays here.
Well, we talked about at the outset of this basketball game how Sean East would certainly be in the running for SEC's most improved player. Defensively, he's always been there. Reminds me of DeMoy Hodge last year, who probably should have made the defensive team. The way that he steals and gets into the passing lanes. You look at Sean East and his improvement. I give credit to him because he stayed, right? So many guys want to jump in that transfer portal. He stayed and got better.
Bates, meanwhile, has had a couple of good looks in each corner. And watched them both go halfway down and pop out. Yeah, East has evolved into one of the more prolific and efficient scorers in the league. Aberdeen couldn't handle that one, so Florida has been loose with the basketball in the early minutes. Bates underneath, rises. Yeah, it's over Condon and down.
Yeah, strong. One thing you notice is that Missouri is trying to take everything to the basket, which is something that you don't see as much when teams are undersized, because a lot of times they're intimidated. So they settle from the perimeter. Missouri, even though they're undersized, they're maintaining their aggressiveness.
The Tigers have a 3-point edge. There's the differential, Florida.
Yeah, no edge there, is it? For the Tigers at all. Wow.
Just how tall? Yeah, according to Ken Palm's numbers, they're the 11th tallest team on average collectively in the nation. Missouri way down the other end of the spectrum there. You know, the battle on the glass is going to be very important. Florida, as we've seen already, they can hit the offensive glass hard. Kugel open, passes up the 3, takes a more pretty better look at the rim.
Yeah, Connor Vanover that time. He's got good size at 7'5", but he's got to bend down, get in the stance, be a little bit more mobile. Good job by Riley Kugel just going right around him on that trip.
That's the sophomore's first basket. Robinson bumped by Thomas Houck. That's the first on the freshman.
You know, Todd Golden's a huge analytical guy from Florida. Actually, both of these coaches, both Dennis Gates and Todd Golden. But Todd talked to us about their numbers at home defensively were astronomically better than they were on the road. He is wanting to make sure that they set precedents to be much better on the defensive end here on the road tonight.
Yeah, they haven't won a game away from home, and they just gave up 85 points at Tennessee on Tuesday. Woo! Bates is off to a fine start. He's got 8 in the first 8 minutes. He's coming off a 19-point game. He has really stepped up the last month with the aforementioned Grill, Tange being out of the lineup. Samuel attacks the basket, lays it up, and he's going to the free throw line when we return. Mizzou with a fine start, shooting 50% from the floor, and they're up 3 at home. So we have our first Big Monday doubleheader of the season. R.J. Davis and the 4th-ranked Tar Heels host Wake Forest at 7, and then Kansas needing to bounce back now after getting toppled by West Virginia earlier. It hosts Cincinnati at 9, both of those games Monday on ESPN.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to that Wake Forest, North Carolina game.
R.J. Davis, 20 a game. It's been great. Let's go inside Todd Golden's huddle.
that trap like we've been doing. I told you about that ball screen. Whenever Big send into a trap like that, make sure our guards are doing a good job absorbing it, but you've got to come back to the ball. All right, so we're going to trap like we've been doing. Don't let yourself drift away from the ball, because they're going to try to run through the pass. Come back and move it. You're going to have 3 on 2 on the backside like that.
Really good stuff. And what he's saying is to make sure that you don't allow the pressure to make you timid. He's saying make yourself an available receiver. Be attackers against the pressure of the Missouri Tigers. And if they do that, they will be successful.
And that's always critical when you face this Missouri team. Dennis Gates' squads, they are aggressive. They will pressure you in the backcourt and the front court as well. Florida has given it away 3 times already. And Tyree Samuel splits a pair at the line.
2 young coaches in their second years. You think about the different coaches that have continued to come to this league. Remember when Ben Howland came and was over at Mississippi State? Kermit Davis. There's been so many quality coaches come to this league. This league is a gauntlet, and both of these coaches are finding it out both last year and this year.
They're finding out it's very difficult to win, of course, in this league. And both are trying to lift themselves up from the bottom of the league right now. Mizzou back up by 4. Carter with that turnaround. Florida was right there in its SEC opener against Kentucky. Its lone SEC win against Arkansas, and they throttled the Razorbacks last week. Trying to bounce back from the loss Tuesday in Knoxville. Robinson whistled for the personal, went with the left arm and hooked his defender that time.
Yeah, Doug Shaw's right there on the call. Ant Robinson, another guy who was out with an illness, but and that's the correct call. Doug Shaw's right there. It's an old school move by a new school player in Ant Robinson, but it was the correct call, and the officials have done a nice job in these first 10 minutes of the game.
Yeah, we've got a great crew tonight too. Shaw's, Olandis Poole, and Brian Dorsey on the whistle. There's Denzel Aberdeen that time in a good defensive position. Missouri with a lot of pressure. Kugel head fake. He had Carter flying by, and he buries the 3.
All that created not only by pulling, stretching the trap of the defense, but also by the screen of Samuel on that play.
Vanover had that one challenged by Hauk. And Florida's size presenting problems. Woo! Great feed inside. Samuel underneath, back out to Kugel. Right-hand dribble, the spin, blocked by Vanover.
Connor said it's 7-5 here, right?
Yeah. We got a lot of height on the floor today. When you play Florida, always quite a bit of height. Vanover at 7'5", tallest player in college basketball. That was easy.
Big fella. Like that. They need more from him.
He's earning another start. It's back-to-back starts for Vanover, though Florida, beats him in transition, and Samuel hammers that one down.
Yeah, Florida, one other thing that I like about the Gators is they can play different styles. They can get up and down with Missouri, or they can play a slower style, and like a Virginia or Coach Tony Bennett.
Carter trying to barge into Pullen, lays it up, and there's another basket for Noah Carter.
Strong. Love the fact that he wasn't waiting to see if the official called the foul. He kept his focus on the rim.
So Mizzou, 8 of 13 from the floor to start. It has a 3-point lead as we're past the midway mark inside Mizzou Arena. Samuel now starting to barge into Vanover. Turns with the right hand, can't get it to go.
Yeah, he's not going to have a lot of success fading away from Connor Vanover. You don't want to fade away from guys that are taller and shot blockers. You've got to go right through the chest of big guys. Robinson
playing with those 2 fouls, lobs it to Vanover. Didn't quite have position. This is Kurt Lewis, a junior from Louisville, getting some early run. Oh, that one knocked out of bounds by Samuel. A very graceful block.
Well, take a look here, Kevin. This is what I was talking about earlier. Right, Pullen, he does a nice job of stretching the pressure. You see that screen by Samuel, number 4? That is what created the closeout for Riley Kugel to knock down that three-point shot. You always have to start with stretching the defense and not panicking. That's what Todd Golden was talking about. And then Riley Kugel made himself a receiver, and Samuel gave them the additional screen that he needed.
It's been a nice bounce-back week for Kugel, hasn't it? He was
Absolutely
big in that win against Arkansas last week, went for 20 in that game. And he's already hit a couple of shots in the early goings of this one. It's a very difficult fadeaway from Carter. Aberdeen down with it. The Gators are on the move. Aberdeen, he's the deepest man off the bench for Florida. They'll go about 9 deep. Aberdeen, a couple of crossovers, floats it up, tried to bank it in, and the rebound down to Jordan Butler. Carolero Martin leaves it for East. Over to Carter, extra pass to the corner. And Pullen cuts off Lewis. Carolero Martin, Hanlongton might have got a piece of that shot.
Yeah, you can tell that the length altered that shot. And if you're Missouri, you've had success going to the interior and the paint area. You want to continue to do that.
Pullen has faced a lot of pressure around the perimeter.
Good
Samuel
pass.
to Hanlongton and the throwdown.
Tyree Samuel has shown me tonight his ability to handle the basketball a little bit better than you would think.
He's got some guard skills in him. East from the free throw line. Not that time.
It's another fadeaway. And I heard a fan saying, come on, ref. The ref, you don't give them a reason to blow the whistle if you're fading away. You've got to go to the basket aggressively.
Aberdeen down with the Richard miss. Clayton, ball fake, puts it up and puts it in. So Walter Clayton.
You want this? You want this snow? If not, you better come down to Florida and stay with us.
Yeah, I think so.
They were all excited to get back to Florida. That's for sure.
Basically board the plane in shorts. And you better have your winter jacket ready to go. It was pretty dicey there in Knoxville, just travel conditions-wise on Tuesday. It's a pretty nice baseline drive from Jordan Butler, the freshman from Greenville, South Carolina.
That's 7 feet, 230 pounds moving like that. Big-time recruit, coach's son, played for his father, John.
That's his first basket in 4 games. Not much of a score, but that time with a nimble drive on the baseline. Yeah, this has been great pressure from Missouri defensively on this end of the floor. Richard cut off, falls down, lost the handle of the basketball, so no travel. Condon with half a second left on the shot clock drains it.
Todd Golden says, just how I drew it up. No, I like the pressure, though, by Missouri.
Boy, Condon recognizing, too, that there was no time left. He had to put something up. Bates guarded by the freshman. Bates starting to go to work on the 6'10" Condon. Rejected. It's a vicious block.
Yeah, that's like me in the kitchen, Kevin, trying to put a recipe together. That recipe is a disaster trying to go against a 7-footer on the block. But look, how about this? This is tenacious on both sides. I like the effort by Missouri, you know, trying to be like the Tigers. But look at this, Bates, you got to figure out a different recipe, right? You're not going to win that battle. 9 times out of 10, that shot will get blocked. And you see he's leading the SEC freshman at 1.4 per game.
Come on, the ribeye 8 minutes aside. Okay, then into the oven about, what is it, 400, something like that? Get you. Carter now for 3. That should be Missouri basketball as it ricocheted off of Clayton's hand. So it does stay here and a new 20. For the Tigers.
You can see a substantial difference in size. And the question I had before the game was, if Missouri began to see some success, would Todd Golden and Florida go small? A lot of hands down there that time by Riley Kugel. They results in a foul called by Doug Shows. But you see what I'm saying? At every position almost, Kevin, you've got more size advantage by the Florida Gators.
Yeah. The height and even those guards too, Pullen and Clayton, wide, brawny. That foul was whistled on Kugel, his first. So Bates heading back to the free throw line. Essentially the league's best free throw shooter. He's 93% on the year entering this one. Our featured women's hoops matchup, I should say, is tomorrow. And it features the defending national champs, 10th ranked LSU and Angel Reese host Arkansas inside the Maravich Center in Baton Rouge. Coverage begins at 5 on ESPN. Congrats to Tara Vanderveer.
Oh my goodness.
Stanford women's basketball coach ties the Division I wins record. She is going to go try to break Coach K's mark of 1,202 wins tomorrow.
Yeah. Well, it's excellence, right? And you see that not only from her, but throughout women's basketball in general. Wow, the game has just continued to elevate. You talked about Kim Mulkey, right? The fastest coach to 700 victories. Good response after a loss in Auburn. They continue to be ready to play, but Dawn Staley in South Carolina, the only undefeated women's basketball team left.
We get that LSU-USC game this Thursday. Condon lost it. Lead feed to Bates. The layup. Yeah! Tamar Bates has got a dozen. Well, he has been one of the SEC's best scorers the last month, averaging close to 18 a game his last 7. Clayton open in the corner. He's got 2 triples. Make it 3.
It's like body blows for a boxer before they throw you a headshot. The body blow by Riley Kugel getting into the teeth of the defense in the paint led to the headshot by Clayton.
2-point lead for Florida, looking for its first win away from home. They've run into some challenges on the road this year, particularly in SEC play. Late shot clock offense, 4 to shoot. Bates hoists it, deep one. Tamar Bates!
Young fella. He ranked 2nd on his team with 37 triples during the 2022-23 campaign. And he is showing that he's got more to his bag tonight.
It's like your percentage, 50% from deep, my man. That is electric.
You know, they say defense travels. Well, the 3-point shot travels too. From Indiana all the way to... I wanted to make sure fans knew what that meant.
Damian's demo, it never fails. Tune in every week. Maybe I'll get a speaking part.
Hey, we'll see if we see... I would expect maybe Florida to do more icing or downing tonight than Missouri. Missouri's doing what we call blitzing or trapping the ball screens tonight because they want to keep pressure on this backcourt for the Florida Gators.
What have you thought of Missouri's pressure thus far?
It's more about the culture and style and pace that we expect from Missouri. But we mentioned it earlier. Caleb Grill goes down. Tanjay goes down. And so they've had multiple players. Ant Robinson was out sick, so they haven't had the depth to be able to pressure and play the style that they want to play.
There's been a lot of freshmen that have gotten some minutes, more than maybe a lot of folks would have thought. Tamar Bates, well, that would have been a pretty finish.
Yeah, it was a nice set out of the timeout by Coach Dennis Gates.
Kugel attacks, finds Samuel, goes up and throws it down on top of the freshman that time. Tyrese Samuel schooling the young man.
Listen, he's 6'10", 240 pounds, and he gave Missouri all of it on that particular possession. Wow.
So Samuel has 7. You talked about his double-double prowess. First year in the league, he leads the SEC in double-doubles.
Yeah.
And he's coming off of one in that Tennessee loss on Tuesday. It's a 3-point lead for Florida. Tonight in Mizzou Arena, they have it with 8 seconds to shoot.
Well, this is an example for all bigs. If you're not quite what exactly to do when you receive the basketball, take your time, gather yourself, and go up with 2 hands with a strong finish. If you're 6'9", 6'10", it's about the power, control, and attacking the rim.
Samuel now guarding Carter, challenged the shot, and Carter left it short. Samuel certainly has the size and the length advantage there, down low facing Carter. He's got it, goes to work, lays it up. That one was partially tipped by Butler that time. Mizzou in a hurry again. Honor for 3.
And that's Mizzou basketball. The average fan is saying, what? Nick Honor's taking a 3-point shot, 1 against 2 or 3 Gators. That's Mizzou basketball.
And he's close to 40% from deep this year. Poland draws the foul, and so he heads to the free throw line. Damian, we've had 8 lead changes, 6 ties already. So this game has been tight in this first half.
Well, it's for a very simple reason. For Dennis Gates, they were a team that finished in the top 4 in the SEC. He is yet to have an SEC win. So you've got a hungry, desperate Tiger of Missouri that's anxious to get their first W at home. On the other end, you've got a Florida team who we talked about earlier, has played well against the likes of a Baylor, against Virginia. You know, they've already knocked off a very good Florida State team. So they want to get to the NCAA tournament. If you want to get there, these are the games you need to win.
We're only 2 weeks into conference play. It feels like Florida's conference season has been a roller coaster already. They have Kentucky up against the ropes in that opener. They lose a late lead, drop that one at home to the Wildcats. Then got blown out by Ole Miss and Tennessee. Between those 2 losses, a torching of Arkansas. So it has been up and down for these Gators. Defense a big priority moving forward. Carter can't stick to 3. Kugel down with the board.
Not a bad offensive trip that time by Missouri, though.
Clayton feeling it from deep. He was 3 of 3 from beyond the arc to start. That's his first miss. He has 9. Both teams right around 45% from the floor. Bates, boy, that is a pretty looking jumper there to shake his man and knock this thing back up 34 up. Bates, boy, he's feeling it. Damian, 17 already in the first half. Entry pass, a little wayward. Samuel, though, with the reach to secure it, lays it up, and he's going to the free throw line. He draws the foul on Butler, so he's been tormenting the freshman 7-footer inside of late. Bates with 17 in this first half. So he's right at his average of what he's done the last 7 games.
Well, you can see the improvement, right? Up 10 points. The percentage is up substantially, both field goal and 3-point field goals as well. You talk about a 90-50 or 90-50 and 40% guy. That's Tamar Bates. He's the only one in the SEC doing that. 90% from the free throw line, 40% from the 3-point line, and 50% from 3. With that being said, what we're seeing here is like a tug of war. Florida has the advantage in size, and so that's why you see Tyrese Samuel having so much success. Missouri has the speed and quickness, and that's the reason why any time you see Tamar Bates matched up against Samuel, he's trying to use his quickness to get a good look at the rim. Here's the switch they want.
There's the matchup again. Bates attacks down the lane, puts his shoulder into Samuel, throws it up. Shaw now with the board. Kugel takes it away. Kugel into the paint, gathers, scoops it, hand-locked, and comes flying in for the follow slam.
Big fella.
Well, he gets way above the rim.
Yeah.
Got that long reach.
And I believe hand-logged Micah was actually out in the Baylor game, in which they lost by 4. You think he would make a difference?
Yeah, missed a couple of games in late November. About a half a minute to go in this first half. It's been a tight one and a competitive one. Neither team is led by more than 4. Todd Golden is screaming for a timeout, and the call is a tie-up. So he's asking, why did I get the timeout there?
Well, the question is, did Florida have the basketball, right? Because in order to call a timeout, you have to have the possession, and obviously Todd Golden feels like they did. And so you can't tell. I think it's the right call, because at one point Sean East had his hand on the basketball. Now, we couldn't see the other side, and then Bates came in and had his hand on the basketball as well. It's the safe call, too.
If Doug Shows had the angle that Todd Golden did, maybe. But if anything, it looked like Shows was just behind the play. I'm with you. I think the tie-up is the appropriate call. So about a 13-second differential between shot and game clock. 20 seconds to go in a very competitive first half between 2 teams. They need an SEC win. Honor underneath, hand-locked and impacted it. Poland's got it, eyes up, check the timer to Samuel, goes flying in. It's a blocking foul with 7.9 to go. That's the 7th foul on Mizzou, so a 1-and-1 is coming for Samuel.
It's the correct call, and Missouri fans don't like it, but remember, this year, in order to get a charge, you have to be planted before the offensive player actually plants their foot to take off. And that time, Tyree Samuel had already planted his foot before Bates was in his position to take the charge.
Samuel follows the miss. 5 seconds to go in the half. Pulling is open. 3 seconds. Kugel, jab step. Less than a second. Allowed to let it go. And that one's offline anyway. So Florida does take a 3-point lead into the break.
Good half.
Competitive first half with many leads.
Just had to remind people, you know.
The Arctic Blast has reached Columbia.
First 5 minutes, as always, very critical for both of these basketball teams. Florida trying to get their first road victory, and the Missouri Tigers trying to get their first SEC victory this season.
Florida shot 45% from the field in that first half. Clayton, a little stutter step into the paint, puts it up. Couldn't get it to go that time. Tamar Bates playing with quite a bit of confidence, but just with poise as well. That is a graceful attack to the rim, and he's got 19.
The key word being attack. I thought Micah Hanlogden did not attack like Tyree Samuel had been attacking, and as a result, Florida didn't really get a good look on their previous trip. If you're the Missouri Tigers, you continue to attack, especially in transition and in the full court where you can use your speed.
Carter squares up on Samuel. East lost the handle, and Pullen has it for Florida.
Florida trying to get the high-low, but Noah Carter doing a pretty good job pressuring. Unfortunately for Missouri, though, he got up a little too tight. And once again, Kevin, Tyree Samuel showing us at 6'10" and 240 that the graduate senior and the transfer from Seton Hall can get to the basket.
Yeah, he has been in attack mode today, and now into double figures. He's got 10. One more coming at the free throw line.
And he brings a world of experience, doesn't he? Remember, this was a tournament team last year in the Florida Gators. If Colin Castron doesn't go down, I'm a firm believer they would have made it. He goes down, but Coach Todd Golden's able to replace that experience with Tyree Samuel, a guy who started all 33 games as a senior at Seton Hall and averaged 11 and 6.
Bates crosses him up and sticks that mid-range J. So those two right now are trading blows. And you've spotlighted that matchup several times. Samuel has been the one switched on to Bates. Bates has made a pay.
Well, the difference has been Dennis Gates has been able to run plays to get Samuel matched up. They're pretty much switching everything. You see the mismatch? If they can get it to Connor Vanover on the interior versus Pullen, they're showing nice patience. There it goes, but look how far he's pushed off of the block now.
Honor in the corner, hits the triple.
Pretty basketball.
Samuel Aaron pass. Who's got it? And the officials had to determine there who it was last off of, so it stays here with Florida.
Yeah, if I'm Coach Dennis Gates, I'm pretty excited. Well, he's not excited about that call, but I'm pretty excited about the way my team's playing in those first 5 minutes that we talked about. They've turned Florida into somewhat of a passive team right now.
Richard is open, got the three.
That's more aggressive. And that all was initiated by Micah Hanlogden getting it out of the trap, and then they had an advantage on the interior.
So Florida swings back ahead by 2. Will Richard with his first basket, and a very meaningful moment.
Will Richard, part of that backcourt that I absolutely love for the Gators. I think Zion Pullen, Walter Clayton Jr., Riley Kugel, and Will Richard all are very versatile, double-figure scoring, athletic, mobile guards.
East hits Carter. One more pass to Bates in the corner. 2 seconds to shoot. The floater is down. Tamar Bates now just continues to ignite. Samuel with a whole lot of room. Yes.
Yeah, he's much better when he gets the basketball. And so if I'm Coach Todd Golden, I try to make it to where Tyrese Samuel is the one that's getting the basketball out of the trap every time.
That's a poor pass into a lot of traffic. Florida now in a rush. Richard puts it up and puts in another. Timeout as Florida takes its largest lead early in the second half. So Tuesday night over on the SEC Network, we have got Kentucky in Columbia to take on South Carolina. That's Tuesday at 7 Eastern on the network, also streaming live on the app. Kentucky thriving. 105 today against Georgia at home.
They've got another 7-footer, Big Z. I'm calling him Big Z the 3. He came in sizzling hot, on fire, as if Kentucky needed any more weapons. My goodness. They talked about it on game day, which team had the highest ceiling. I was appalled that nobody went with those Cats.
Yeah.
I don't think they went with the Cats. I saw UConn. Maybe somebody went with the Cats. It was early.
Number 1 team in America. A lot of upside. That's a surprising pick, surprise pick. Yeah, Zvonimir Ivisic. He got some early minutes early in that game in Lexington to great fanfare. Here's Carolero Martin back inside Mizzou Arena. Misfires from deep. So Kentucky now 14-3 after the 105-86 win today. There's Clayton, puts it up and got the foul. Walter Clayton Jr. going to the line for one more.
Yeah, well, obviously, when guys play under Rick Pitino as he did for Iona, they just have a different motor, different basketball mindset, nice use of the shot fake, and then you didn't see Walter Clayton Jr. fade away there. He went right up and through the chest.
It's a 7-0 Florida run. Timeout in Mizzou Arena. So Florida with the lead here, back inside Mizzou Arena in Columbia. Damian Fishback, Kevin Fitzgerald with you. So time for Fish Facts. What you got, my friend?
You got any guesses today? It's already up there now. How about this? Playing hard is a skill set. Fact. And the reason I say that is because we've seen a lot of upsets or parity in college basketball with so many guys going to the NBA, so much transfer because of NIL or coaching changes. The games are a paper-thin difference of who wins and loses. And so now you can talk about shooting and passing and rebounding. I believe simply playing hard is a quality skill set that coaches have to prepare for now.
Yeah, and you saw that number of ranked teams that have gone down at this point this season to unranked teams.
39, right?
That's a big number at this point.
Well, and that's because I feel like once a team has a big win, then the next game they feel like they can just walk out on the floor and beat someone. You don't see that in a lot of your top upper echelon teams, right? You don't see that in your UConns who are trying to repeat as champions or in your Purdue's. You definitely hadn't seen that in Tennessee. Wow, they lost the game at Mississippi State and they have been playing as good as anybody in the country since then.
Last week was a bit of a shaky week, let's call it, for the Vols. And how do they respond this week? Couple of beatdowns, one on Tuesday against this Gators team, and then earlier today. And a big victory. So Dalton Connect, 4 straight 25-point games for the next level transfer. Samuel on the run gets hacked on the way to the basket. And so Samuel is at the line with Florida on a 7-0 run.
How much different would we be looking at this Florida team if they were 2-2 versus 1-3 and they had just won that home game against Kentucky, which they were right there to beat Kentucky? There would be no question that this is an NCAA tournament team. I think that they are already. With that being said, There's so many teams after you get past that top 3 or 4, and right now that's the Kentucky, the Tennessee, and the Auburn. You see those close losses to Scott Drew and Tony Bennett, and of course Coach Cal, who got 400 wins at SEC at Kentucky. But this is a team who can compete with anybody. But I do think because they have yet to win on the road, the committee is looking at this game closely.
East pulls the 3. And when knocked around, Hanlongton comes down with the board. Yeah, I mean, and it's also worth noting, there's a lot of basketball yet to be played for Florida. They've got 14 conference games plus the SEC tournament. There's a lot of time. Clayton falls. He thought it was contact that forced him to the ground. That's a great run out and great transition offense for the Tigers. Trent Pierce, the beneficiary, at the rim.
Yeah, Todd Golden is livid. There was certainly a push there. Walter Clayton Jr. didn't foul down on his own, and right now it gets Missouri's fan base back into this basketball game as they switch to a matchup zone.
So that ends the 9-0 Florida run. Pullen straight on 3, knocked out, and it stays here with Florida, so it'll get a new 20-second shot clock. No! Brian Dorsey comes over to Orlando's Poole, and they get it right. Ball back to Mizzou. Todd Colton, yeah, it's a bit of a frustrating sequence for the second-year head man. Sean East with just 4 points. That is Missouri's leading scorer. Impactful, though, in so many other ways if he's having an off shooting night.
Sure.
Oh, yeah, backdoor cut. That's a good decision. Off the window. That's the second time he's banked it in.
Yeah, nice touch off of the glass, up high.
Sean East, he's got Missouri back within 3. Samuel catches mid-post, back to Pullen, slams on the brakes, looking for someone to bail him out. Richard hoists, that's down and 8. Now Pierce draws the foul, so it's a loose ball foul on Florida.
Well, and right now, we talked about giving Missouri's fan base credit. They're certainly lifting up this team right now, hungry for a win. I think there's certain points in the season where you know that you're getting a team's best shot. I think Texas A&M got the best shot from Arkansas. Arkansas, I don't think, really played well today. South Carolina, quality win on the road. But right now, there's no doubt that the Florida Gators are getting the Missouri Tigers' best shot here tonight.
East down to the block and to chuck it out. Kugel read that one and takes it away. Hands off. Richard lays it up and in. How quick was that?
Pretty fast break and nice decision-making skill that time. Riley Kugel waited to the very last second.
East on the attack. He's got Condon on skates, floats it up with the left, and Condon comes down with the basketball.
Big guys learn from that. Number 21 in blue, Alex Condon, did a nice job of securing the rebound and picking it up and getting it to a guard. Missouri's got to be active in this zone. They want to keep their personality.
Richard bombs away. That was a deep one. He cuts after the miss. Samuel found him, and then Richard draws the foul. So it's the 4th team foul on Missouri. Second on East.
Not many turnovers in this game. Pretty clean basketball game, but when there is, both teams are doing a nice job of getting out, and you see Riley Kugel. Now, if that was a big, that would have been more of a dangerous pass, but he trusted Will Richard, and he waited to just the right moment to get him the basketball for the finish.
Samuel going to work again. Bates knocked it away. 6 to shoot. 4 seconds. Pullen has got to let it fly. Puts it in. Zion Pullen, the 5th-year senior from Pleasant Hill, California. He has been a steady force for the Gators this year. Ultimate veteran. He's got more than 1,500 points. Florida's got its largest lead of the day. Bates says not so fast. He continues to pour it in, Damian, and he's now tied his career high, 25 today against the Gators.
Yeah, outstanding movement without the basketball.
A very poised, measured. We spoke to him before today's game. Just a very confident player, playing with a lot of confidence and courage right now. After the takeaway, here's Missouri on this end of the floor. Honor is looking for a cutter. This is Pierce, puts it up. No, and Condon tracks down another rebound.
Sammy wants the basketball inside. He's wide open.
Yeah, he's open. Barges right into the freshman. Can't convert, though he does draw the foul, and he's going to the free throw line. Florida maintains its lead, up by 6 on the road. North Carolina was a winner today at Boston College, and it is our first game in our featured Big Monday doubleheader. At 7 Eastern, the Tar Heels get Wake Forest. R.J. Davis had another good day today. He is the ACC scoring leader. They battle at 7, Cincinnati and Kansas at 9 on ESPN.
Yeah. How about Steve Forbes, another transfer guard, right? You've got Hunter Salas, a transfer from the Zags after Tyree Appleby and Alondas Williams. But tonight, Tamar Bates is the transfer that we're talking about.
Speaking of a transfer,
right?
yeah.
Transfer from Indiana. Career high tonight. If it weren't for him, where would the Missouri Tigers be? And how efficient has he been on the night? 10 of 16. Just simply sensational basketball from Tamar Bates.
And remember, he missed his first 2 threes. So after that point, he's 10 of his last 14. You know, he has been on a rampage. It's 8 straight games in double figures. Over his last 7, he was scored 17 a game. So he had to step it up a notch with some guys like Caleb Grill, John Tonje, injured around December, early to mid-December time frame. So Tamar Bates, he hits the transfer portal after a couple of years at Indiana. He was thinking about Michigan, was very close with Jet Howard.
Yep. Also
considers here Missouri. This is a place where he used to walk around this campus often growing up. Used to come to some games. He's from Kansas City. His father, I said, what's your father's name? Dr. Tyrone. Dr. Tyrone, he got his PhD here in education about 10 years ago. So a campus and a place he's very familiar with.
Yeah. Well, there's so many good stories, right? When you look at transfers, you mentioned Dalton Connect earlier. How about Max Asmus over at Texas?
Sure.
You know, just so many guys getting a chance to be seen where they weren't seen before.
Let's throw it back a decade ago. The Bates family. There's Doc on the far right, Tamar and his siblings, plus Mom on the far left side. So again, a campus, a community he was very familiar with. You know, he said we took some photos near the columns from time to time when we would visit as a family. And so he said it was a pretty quick decision. He had a chance to meet with his coaching staff in April after he hit the portal, and he said it was, you know, immediate chemistry, if you will, between he and the staff, like what they were offering.
Sure.
And the role that he was going to take on here was certainly going to be a larger offensive role, and he has taken that and ran with it in a sense.
Well, certainly tonight, you got to think about all the pressure that has been on Noah Carter, Nick Honors, and Sean East, right? They welcome him. But what I'm noticing tonight is Coach Dennis Gates is going into his depth a little bit more, which is allowing them to play more of the style that they want. You're seeing pressure now, full court.
And so that forces Florida to get into its offense with about 10 seconds off the shot clock. This is Poland searching. 2 seconds. Condon turns the lefty hook shot. Handlocked and knocked it back in.
Well, what you're looking at, frankly, is a couple of 7-footers, right? Missouri just doesn't have anyone to truly match their size.
8 rebounds now tonight for Handlockton. Carter was bumped on the way to the basket. Second foul on Alex Condon. East is ready to check back in with 9:39 to go in half number 2. It's a critical SEC game, early conference tilt for both of these teams. Mizzou has lost 7 of 8, but it's been against a very difficult stretch. Florida has had a up and down roller coaster to begin SEC play, and both don't want to fall deeper into the early conference season hole. Shaw spins, goes into Hanlongton, goes up and draws the foul. Aiden Shaw headed to the free throw line.
Big difference, right? That time Aiden Shaw didn't fade away. He spun and then he went into the defender, right? Hanlongton bounced back because Aiden Shaw was the one initiating the contact. It wasn't an offensive foul, but he was the aggressor. When you are in between the lines of the game of basketball, you want to be intelligent, but you also want to be the aggressor at all times.
Good job of almost neutralizing the size advantage there, and Hanlongton was stumbling back. Shaw has only gone to the free throw line a handful of times this year. After that miss, he's 4 of 11 at the stripe.
Well, he's a 4-star recruit, two-time All-State. He's a guy that played in 32 games in his freshman year, a couple of starting assignments, but Dennis Gates certainly wants more from him.
Kugel is fouled.
And for young players at home, do not do what Riley Kugel did here. He comes and stops right here. You see behind him, now he's got the sideline and the half-court line that are really like 2 extra defenders to go along with Noah Carter and Nick Honors. That is the worst place to pick up the basketball as an offensive player, and a great place to trap, as you see Missouri was trying to do.
Missouri, the pressure defense that it brings day in and day out, pulling for 3. Shaw flying in for the rebound. So with 9 to go, it's a 2-possession game in Columbia. Mizzou without a field goal for nearly 3 minutes now. Pierce in the corner. Condon down with another rebound. Up ahead to Poland across the timeline with his eyes up. Clayton lets it go. Way offline that time on the 3. Boy, Hanlongton very active inside tonight. He's got 9 rebounds. Clayton rises and he draws the foul.
Anytime there's an offensive rebound, it puts the defense at a disadvantage, and it puts your defense in closeout positions. See, on this offensive rebound, now you've got Missouri scrambling, right? Hanlongton does a nice job. Look at him. Everybody's scrambling. Shaw, he's trying to guard 2 players. Now Shawnees gets there late to try to help. That's why it's so important to box out and complete the defensive possession, with a defensive rebound.
Well, and you see that number there in the bottom left corner. Florida coming into this game 2nd in the nation in offensive rebounds per game.
It wins basketball games.
Yeah.
It's one of the reasons why Purdue is going to be a tough out come NCAA tournament regardless. They got as good a chance as anybody to do what Tony Bennett of Virginia did after going down last year in that first round. Because Zach Edey shoots it well from the free throw line. He's almost impossible to keep off the glass at times. Wade Smith continues to improve.
And so Florida just continues to inch further ahead and extend the lead against Mizzou. This place has been a little quiet in recent minutes. Pierce kept the pivot foot and would not get the jump hook to go. Denzel Aberdeen off the bench and into the game now for Florida. He's got it.
And Trent Pierce, another top 60 recruit. I actually like the fact that Coach Dennis Gates is now starting to give those young players some time. They've got to learn. They need them this year. They need their size.
A lot of dribbling here. Aberdeen chucks it back out to Kugel. 7:40 to go. 4 on the shot clock. Kugel, that's a step back. Long-range triple, and he sticks it.
Wow. Defensively, there's not a whole lot you can do about that. And Riley Kugel getting into SEC play shape right now.
Perfect timing, and Florida has taken its largest lead, Damian, of the day. It's an 11-point advantage, and Mizzou, again, is still cold from the floor right now. Clayton had it knocked away, and it takes us to a timeout. 7:09 to go. Rodley Cougar, let me show you something.
Or must-watch TV quite a bit. That is must-see TV. You're talking about Reese and Morrow both coming off of double-doubles for LSU in their win over Bama, and then they have to watch out because they might just get dunked on. How about Watkins with their second career dunk for South Carolina? Going to be a big-time battle.
Yeah, that was big time a few days ago. So South Carolina, you mentioned before, remains unbeaten. Meanwhile, inside of 7 minutes to go in this very important SEC battle between a winless Missouri team. They're 0-4. They have been close a couple of times, including last weekend against South Carolina, where they lost in overtime. Carolero Martin lost it on the way up, handlocked it, now down with his 11th rebound. Meanwhile, on the other hand, Florida 1-3. It was close against Kentucky. It's got a couple of lopsided losses against very good SEC teams in Ole Miss and Tennessee. It is trying to dig its way out of this early 1-3 hole. So it's a very consequential one in mid-January.
Yeah, on the Florida side, think about it, right? When you think about their losses on the road at Ole Miss, probably going to be quite a few people that lose there. Even though they're struggling against Auburn on the road, who a lot of people certainly lose at Auburn. But then they also lost at home to Kentucky. Kentucky got 3 7-footers now, just a top recruiting class. Coach Cal, Hall of Famer, just continue to do what he does year after year. And at Tennessee, after watching Alabama at Tennessee today, I don't know if anybody's going to beat Tennessee at Thompson-Boling Arena like this year.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, if the NCAA tournament was held in Knoxville, I would take Tennessee without question. Might take them anyway.
Yeah. This drought for Missouri continues to drag on. Oh, no more. Tamar Bates to the basket. It's a career day for the Kansas City man.
Did Bates look over here at you and say, Fitz, what did you say? Drought? I've got an answer for you. Have a cup of this. Nice floater. Still fading away a little bit. Probably a fortunate call there. But again, you go to the basket and you're able to get those type of calls. I love that I've seen more of that from Missouri. Regardless of the outcome of this game, they have to continue to be attackers and use their speed and craftiness and skill set to get to the rim.
28 points for Tamar Bates. It's a career day and a career year for the junior. So he's got 28 of the 55. I mean, that is, there you go, more than half of his team's points tonight. It's a 10-point cushion. Condon recognizes he's got an opening. Big-to-big pass, and hand-locked it is there for the finish.
Yeah, I told you I really like Alex Condon. You can tell that he plays with a lot of confidence and poise as a freshman.
Abertine knifes in, had it knocked away, and then a tie-up. So the possession arrow does favor Missouri. It's getting it back with 5:31 to go.
Yeah, a little bit too much pounding of the basketball that time. And that's why he's probably going to get a seat, Todd Golden. Just going to continue to educate him. And right now for Florida, your focus is simply on taking care of the basketball and continuing to play to win. On the other side for Missouri, your style of play can allow you to overcome a 12-point deficit very easily, but you've got to make some baskets so that you can actually set up into your pressure.
42% from the floor in this second half. Although Florida has just had the advantage from the perimeter and at the line in this half as well. So Missouri had that, as I mentioned, that lengthy drought for a few minutes. They went 5 minutes without a field goal. Bates in attack mode again, floats it up and draws another foul. So Tamar Bates again knocking on the door of his first career 30-point game, headed back to the free throw line, is option 1, 2, and 3 right now.
Yeah, most certainly. And for the other players that are returning to Missouri next year, this is a very important season for you because they do have the #2 recruiting class as of now coming to Missouri, and so minutes could be much harder to find. And I'm sure that the staff of Dennis Gates is continuing to evaluate. I mean, wow, what a job in his second year that Coach Dennis Gates and their staff has done. Associate head coach, Coach Young, was with him when he was at Florida State. They separated for a little while. He came back together, and now from Cleveland State to Missouri, had some success in their first year. They'll continue to battle. Right now, they're building culture and getting their team accustomed to figuring out how to win with this group.
Yeah, we hear Coach Gates mention it. Our core values, just learning that system. There's a standard now in Missouri. It's a foul on Honor. That's his second, with 5:01 to go.
One thing I'll tell you is, and you see Arkansas, they're struggling, and everybody knows Coach Musselman's a phenomenal coach. He's been the last man standing in the SEC year in and year out.
In the tournament,
He's really been there in the tournament, yeah. But you can't have an off year in the SEC. You can't have a year to where you don't have the talent, or you don't have the athleticism, or you don't have the toughness or the skill set. In a league like the Southeastern Conference, the year you don't have it, you will get exposed.
Another loss for Arkansas earlier today. South Carolina has had some success in that building in recent years, so they have won 3 times now out of their last 5 trips to Bud Walton Arena.
Lamont Paris has done as good a job as anyone. You think about them being picked 14th in the SEC. The type of performance they put on today was indicative of just how good they could potentially be, which I think could be an NCAA tournament team.
Bates trying to go back to work with his team, down a dozen. Boy, that is another difficult shot. 32 for Tamar Bates, pouring it in.
And now they get the pressure that we talked about. Zion Pullen just so calm, really hard to speed him up with the basketball.
Yeah, he's been a very steady offensive initiator for the Gators this year. That great assist to turnover ratio.
Yeah. Steady is good. I like that. Now, would you say he's steady like a Volvo, like a Cadillac, like a... What type of vehicle would you compare his steadiness to, Kevin?
Yeah, the reliability.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's got the horsepower of the Maserati. I don't know if we've seen that, but yeah, the Volkswagen, very good engineering.
Hey, you just told me a lot about yourself. You went straight to the Maserati, huh?
Yeah.
I like that.
I could dream, Kevin. 12-point lead again for the Gators with 4:25 to go.
And you see Coach Dennis Gates putting Jordan Butler in the basketball game. We talked about him playing for his father, John. Obviously a couple of brothers, John Butler Jr., Josh Butler. John, who obviously played for Florida State and Washington Wizards. So Dennis Gates is now slowly but surely trying to implement his young team, realizing he's got to add more depth and power to this team.
Bates is going back to the free throw line again. Oh, he's been perfect at the stripe. He's 7 of 7 today. He was 93% at the line coming into this game. It's hard to raise an average that's high, although I'm sure he's done that today. Yeah, he's 7 of 7 at the stripe. It is a 30-point day for Bates, so now 33 after the free throw. He's got 33 of his team's 60.
Well, it's obviously, if you're Coach Dennis Gates, you're excited to see that from Tamar Bates. But again, he told me that he knew what he was getting from basically 4 of his guys: Sean East, Noah Carter, right, Nick Honor, and Tamar Bates. He said, we need that 4th guy. We need another guy that's going to get us that punching power. They may have to do it by committee, a different guy every night.
Right now it's a comfortable lead for Florida and has been for the last few minutes or so. Deep post catch for Handlongton. Good ball movement here. Clayton, lob it up. Handlongton. How about the dexterity there? And he banked it off the window. So some nice nimble work. That's a double-double now for Handlongton, Damian. He's got 10 and 11. So one of his finer days, capitalizing just on this size advantage that he and Florida has tonight. Bates has got to pull it. Three is in the air. Rebound down to Samuel.
Well, the last play exemplified what you expect to see from Coach Todd Golden. All of his years under Coach Randy Bennett. Also spent some time with Bruce Pearl over at Auburn. He is a cerebral and analytical coach. And so you expect his teams to play with intelligence.
Clayton on the step back. Richard asking for a foul. And a couple players start to get tangled up right in front of the Florida bench. Todd Golden ran over there to just step between a couple of players at the tail end of that sequence. So things just got a little testy there in front of the Florida bench. We'll take a peek at it when we return. Florida ahead by a dozen. 3 left in this one. So Damian with 3 to play. Let's take a peek at how this last play ended. Look at Jordan Butler, number 0 in the gold for Missouri, and Tyree Samuel at the end of this play. So Butler just basically clamps down on Samuel's arm. Todd Golden rushes in to try to untangle, as does Brian Dorsey. So Samuel basically just had his arm pinned underneath Butler's in a strange sequence to end the prior play. And again, so take a peek on the left here. Our officials had gone to the monitor to look at whether or not they were going to add a flagrant 1 or a potential hook and hold at the tail end of that sequence.
Well, and
just spoke with Doug Shows.
Doug Shows, he says that they're going to just leave it at a common foul. Both guys got tangled up. That's a fortunate break for Missouri, because Jordan Butler, the young freshman, certainly had the arm of Tyree Samuel. And the reason I say that's a fortunate break is because I just saw in a Georgia-South Carolina game, Miles Studi, that's now out 2 to 3 weeks,
right,
because of an entanglement like that.
It's a play that can lead to injury, yeah. I mean, especially collisions,
listen, I think it
big
should have been
bodies.
hook and hold, period.
Yeah.
I think the officials made their judgment call, but you certainly need to take that play out of the game. And I was always a fan of them taking it out of the game, because Jay Bill has really talked about it a lot as well. But especially after Miles Studi got injured, I paid much more attention to it, because it's allowing players to get injured.
Yeah, at least my interpretation of that, or the angles that we saw, I mean, it did appear as if Samuel was trying to break away from the Butler hold. And that thing went on a few extra seconds. You know what has gone on tonight? Tamar Bates' rampage, 36 points. 36 tonight. Damian, he's 13 of 20 from the floor. However, he's the lone Tiger in double figures.
Yeah, but it's bright. It's certainly a bright light, a spotlight on him, that Coach Dennis Gates is going to say, okay, I know that I've got Tamar Bates now to go along with Nick Honor and Sean East. I think Noah Carter has to continue to give them more. They expected big things from him. He's only got 6 points tonight. They expected him to kind of do what Kobe Brown did last year.
I mean, these moves we have seen from him. He's got that 15-foot pull-up in the mid-range, and he's made some savvy scoring moves today.
Sure.
He's gotten to the line. He's 9 of 9, so that free throw percentage will go up. However, Missouri has just lagged behind a bit in this second half, and so Florida, which has led for the majority of this game, extended its lead to double digits around the midway mark of this second half, and it really has not looked back.
It hasn't been because of a lack of fights, right?
Sure,
I just think
agreed.
this is a challenging matchup for Missouri. There's just so much size. And once again, Orlando's Poole right there on the call. Sean East was, he's trying to box out Micah Handlogden, but he just couldn't. And you see Missouri, how they've started regulation, the shooting, and then how they've struggled towards the ending. And a lot of that stems from injury. A lot of that stems from Caleb Grill, Tanjay, 3, 4, 5, multiple guys being out. So them not having the depth. And I think it's got guys like Sean East, Nick Honors playing probably 8 to 10 minutes more than they're accustomed to and being extremely fatigued.
I think the Grill, and there he is. There's Caleb Grill. Without him, it has certainly been an impactful loss.
Oh, he'd be a starter on this team.
For sure.
Without question. He'd give them toughness. He'd give them shooting, more rebounding, more defending.
So we told you LSU, of course, has the mega matchup against South Carolina on Thursday. Remember, though, it hosts Arkansas tomorrow on ESPN at 5 Eastern. We'll take a timeout with 2:06 to go in Columbia. He's in enemy territory. So he's in enemy territory today. How did he get in here? That's the wrong shade of orange and or yellow.
That's the one thing that the Florida Gators have to continue to work on is their free throw shooting. Bottom of the SEC. You think about some of those close games. If they're able to shoot it much better from the charity stripe, they come out on top in a lot of those games.
Honor couldn't get that one to go underneath. Handlogden another rebound, and then Todd Golden uses one of his timeouts. So it's a 13 rebound day for Micah Handlogden, sophomore from Lake Norman, North Carolina. This team's up 11. Florida's 144 away from closing out its second SEC win. So it's never too early to take a peek at some bracketology projections. So Joe Lunardi has several SEC teams right now in the tournament. If the tournament started, it doesn't, but if the tournament started today, look, Tennessee, as you stated a moment ago, rolled once again. Auburn with another statement win today against Ole Miss. Kentucky a winner. So right now he's got 3 SEC teams among the top 3 seed lines.
Well, I think not only those top 3, but even potentially Alabama can compete with anybody in the country. Wow, did you see the arms on that guy?
I can't skip the curls.
I know,
man,
right? He took us from bracketology to flexology.
And I got chicken wings over here. I need biceps like that.
Goodness gracious.
Flexology.
Well, that's how Tennessee's been flexing, as well as Auburn on the rest of the SEC. But I'm anxious to see Alabama continuing after the game today. I thought that was probably one of their worst performances, but it was because of Tennessee, right? They make you perform like that, in particular in Knoxville.
What are you benching these days? Come on, what are you benching?
Not as much as that guy.
In the corner, and that's Will Richard. You know, he ignited last year against this Missouri team in a bunch of triples, hit 4 of them, went for 18, and today is kind of an awakening for Richard. He's in the double figures for just the second time in SEC play. So he has 11, and Florida continues to flex. So it's now stretched it again to its largest lead. It's a 77-63 advantage with 1:14 to go.
Well, Will Richard is obviously an exciting player, but the way they move the basketball, that's how you attack pressure. You're not passive, you're aggressive. You change sides of the floor, and Will Richard, a prime example of that. Father played football at Clemson. Young man was SEC first-year academic honor roll. The rebounding once again in the second half. We talked about Missouri did well, 19-16 in the first half, only down 3, but in the second half, it just got away from Missouri. Give credit for Florida using their size, and just as important of them taking care of the basketball, because typically that's the equalizer for Dennis Gates in Missouri.
You know, and Florida had turned it over a handful of times, remember, and basically the first 5-6 minutes of the game, They've only given it away 8 times. That's it. And so Florida, that size, that length, you know, and you've outlined this or spotlighted it several times. In a sense, it's a game for Missouri where they are, you know, outmatched when it comes to the height and the length, and held their own for a good bit. However, it'll have to recover and regather because it goes on the road next week, Damian, at Texas A&M and at South Carolina. Mizzou's next 2.
Yeah.
Again, seeking that first win.
And those 2 teams are going to be looking at this game as a must-win because of where Missouri's current net ranking is going to be at that time. It's going to be at home. Texas A&M fought bravely back to get back in that Arkansas game, but came up short. You know, went to LSU today, and so they're going to be in what I would call a must-win situation. South Carolina, obviously they've started off well, but they can't afford to lose any more games if they want to get to the tournament. So it's going to be a tough matchup for sure.
Florida, meanwhile, who has played so many games away from home. They've only played 8 home games. And that's the least of any SEC team. They have Mississippi State and Georgia at home next week. After a wild weather week for these Gators. Half a foot of snow in Knoxville Tuesday. Single-digit temperatures in Columbia today and this weekend. And they are 36.2 away from heading back to Gainesville with a W. And will pick up its second SEC win. It's been a little bit of a roller coaster for Florida to start SEC play. So this one, any game away from home, a win away from home is going to feel good. And this is likely to be the first for Florida this year. First road win.
Yeah, and I give credit for teams like Texas A&M, Florida, Alabama, Tennessee, you know, those teams, and I could be forgetting some, but really going out and scheduling a difficult and challenging non-conference schedule. Missouri obviously did as well when you think about who they played in their non-conference schedule. That was much different from last year to where they haven't gotten a chance to build up their confidence just yet.
Pullen fouled with 16.1 to go. And making Richard going to the free throw line with 16.1 to go. Richard, one of 5 Gators in double figures. He's got 11. Tyree Samuel has led the way for the Gators with 17. He went to the free throw line 12 times, Samuel did.
Yeah, he played well. Richard obviously had another quiet but very good game as well. Double-digit game. And think about a guy who last year started 30 of 32 appearances, so continuing to be optimistic. Chose the number 5 because the number means God, grace in the Bible. This young man, as well as the rest of Florida, has exemplified class here today and impressed me as an NCAA tournament team.
Florida pulled away in the second half and picks up its first road win of the season. It gets back to 2-3 in league play.
Yeah, well, it's a fantastic win by Coach Todd Golden. A nice young coach. They're going to continue to have to dig in and get more victories. But at the end of the day, give credit to this crowd here. They've been continuing to back the Missouri Tigers. They'll have to do that for the rest of SEC play.
Final score, Florida 79, Missouri 67.